What's a good word, everyone? It's your boy DKB here. I just want to say thanks for all the support. The channel's been steadily growing, and the number you see below, you can drop a text, shoot a voicemail, any ideas, topics, collabs, etc. you guys want to see. I'll include them in future videos and live streams, and I'll catch you again. Be easy. What's the good word, Jets fans? It's your boy DKB here. I was really considering doing a matchmaking video of sorts, right? What head coach openings are available, which ones do we expect to open, and what's the latest rumors or what are the strongest connections to those openings so we can see really the pool of talents that we're looking with, at least for the generic names that are out there that we're all pretty familiar with. But one of the real dark horses, a guy that the more I look into him, the more I check out, the more Bucs games I actually ended up putting on my radar this season. Liam Coen is a name that I'm really loving right now. He's short on experience in the NFL, short on play calling duties since he didn't call plays during his time as an offensive coordinator with the Rams. But the job that he's doing with the Buccaneers is absolutely tremendous. I mean, you take a look at him completely turning around an offensive unit that many people thought was going to be buried in the ground, right? Regression from many different positions, the offensive line backtracking, whether due to injury or just having a new OC. Baker Mayfield coming off a career year, doubtful that he can keep that up, right? But there's really a lot to love when you turn on the tape, when you look at what he's been able to do to help out this offense. And again, one of the key points that I pointed out in my breakdown video for him is that he's literally one of the few guys, when you talk about building your scheme around player talent, he lives and breathes that, right? Almost on a weekly basis, you can see who he's highlighted, what packages are going to what players and how they're building off of that. And one of the more underrated aspects of being a play caller in the NFL is how are you sequencing a lot of these plays, right? It's the reason why Kyle Shanahan is such a great head coach, because you see a lot of the packages that he runs where it looks literally like the same play pre-snap, and then things kick off, and one play might have been a wide zone run, one play might be a bootleg off to that same side, one might end up being a trick play, and then one might be coming off of play action. You never really know what's coming, what you're looking for with it. And the best part is he's been able to do all of this with significant injuries as well across the board on the offensive side. So you can literally see him game planning with second, third string guys coming up. So I absolutely love it. Some of the highlights from his season is the fact that, and don't let this fall on deaf ears, by the way, he's literally one of the best offensive coordinators this year. He's somewhere in the top 5, right? When you consider guys like maybe your Joe Brady's, your Todd Munkins, I know I had some other names off the top of my head, but essentially he's in that top 5 of guys that he could win an assistant coach accolade, right? With the kind of performance he's put on. He's turned around a run game that was absolutely atrocious, right? I believe they actually ranked last in the NFL last year. Now you're talking about in most of the important categories, he has them ranked in the top 5, and he's done this with the likes of, mid-round picks, late day 3 guys, Rashad White, Sean Tucker, Bucky Irving, right? Guys that are coming off significant injuries as well. He's really found a way to put each of them in I don't want to say a particular bucket, but he's used what their initial strengths were, and he's allowed them to try to groom themselves in some areas where they can still flourish even further, right? His teams have scored 30 points or more in 7 games this season. So when you talk about almost half of your games, you're putting up 30 points. If you pair that with even the defense that has fallen off this year, you'd imagine we'd be winning a ton of those games, right? Massive efficiency stats when you take a look at excuse me, again, from an efficiency standpoint, his team outproducing what they're generally expected to more often than not. The game planning, the execution, even in when you take a look at some of their losses against like the 49ers, I want to say, I can't remember if they played the Ravens, it might be the Rams, something like that, but a few of the top teams that they lost by, it was really OT losses, walk-off situations. They didn't really have another shot at the game, right? And so every game is competitive. Every game's exciting. every game you feel like they can go out there and have multiple touchdowns. We haven't felt anything like that in forever, right? Talked about the injury roles, your Chris Godwins, your Mike Evans being out, your Bucky Irvings at some points, Rashad White. I think almost every key starter for them in terms of weaponry has been out at some portion or another over the course of multiple games, right? One of the huge pieces as well is that when you take a look at game 1 to game 17 here, they look like they've progressively gotten better, right? They've gotten more comfortable with the playbook. They're executing on the packages that are out there more often. And overall, it's just a fun environment. Communications going back and forth. I hear a lot of the player comments about how they're going out there, and if they run something in practice that they really like, or they have an idea that comes to mind, he'll give them a chance to execute it. And then if they can consistently do that well, right, then cool, we're adding it into the playbook. Already backed by multiple NFL insiders as well. Dan Orlovsky, Peter Schrager have been some of the more vocal names about him being a head coach in 2025 and it not taking another year or two to build onto his resume. Guys should be trusting him right now. Now, I say that he may be off the table because taking a look at from the Bucs side of things and a lot of the fan channels that I see there, and even some of the comments that are made from the Buccaneers website directly, it feels like he could be gone right now. It seems like GM Adam Licht over there, he's going to have one of two major decisions, or I guess technically one of three, right? He can promote Coen here to head coach and fire Todd Bowles. He can end up making him the heir apparent to the role and say, you know, Todd Bowles may be reaching the playoff this year. There's not really necessarily a reason to fire him, but I can guarantee that you will fill his shoes when he does, or if he does falter. And then the third option is to try to retain him based on financial means, right? Make him the highest paid offensive coordinator in the NFL. The last thing that he's going to want in this cycle, because I feel like he can get away with, I feel like he could pull away from the Bucs here, is you don't want to see him make it to completing interviews. It would be my dream to at least see Coen be thrown on the list for us and to hear that we actually got him in the building at some point. Maybe he can make a very convincing argument. But the best case scenario is he does the interviews, he has a Ben Johnson type revelation, he decides he has a really good thing going with the Bucs. Let's try to parlay this into another successful season or two, see if we can really go out there and capture that Super Bowl and make me the undisputed top name, and then I'll end up moving on. But there's a few reasons for him to stay, right? Second youngest roster in the NFL right now. He has Baker Mayfield as his strongest connector or what ties him really to that building outside of whatever coaching staff affinity he has. And then you also got to keep in mind that with Baker Mayfield's resurgence into being an upper tier quarterback, right? That playoff window looks like it may be extended. I know you have Mike Evans aging, Godwin's aging. I know you got to figure out some more pieces to really infuse that offense, but he's shown that he can make some things work, right? So with all of that said, if he ends up staying with the Bucs, I think it'll be a huge miss just for the NFL at large, because he does seem like he's such an awesome talent, and maybe one of those few rare guys, right? Inexperience, doesn't have the previous head coach ties, but maybe he could be the one that makes that jump and figures out a way to make it work. I've heard some of his commentary about differences in him moving up into roles, right? Being a passing game coordinator to moving to OC, and moving from OC in the college ranks to moving to OC in the NFL. And he's spoken to more in-depth things like what it means to actually build out your playbook and have enough plays in there to make adjustments in the second half or in the first quarter, second quarter, etc. And that things aren't getting stale. You actually have other options that you can move to, a fresh start to really see if you can figure out a way to get the best of your opponent. So I love everything about the nature of things that I hear him talk about. Obviously, the development, the elite tier offenses that he's producing out here. Let me know what you guys ultimately think, though, and I'll catch you again. Peace.